Thank you. There was just a final thought, an idea that I wanted to throw out there at the end, and this speaks to that populism that Yossi's just outlined, might actually speak to the kind of idea of a healing process. It certainly speaks to the divisions that were exposed by the referendum in 2016, divisions in age, in class, in occupation, in education, and it speaks to that statistic, that 870 votes that make the difference. Because in general elections, and this one will be little exception, most votes don't matter. Most voices remain unheard. It's why the referendum was an opportunity in 2016 for people to express the way they felt, in a way that voting in a general election just a year before was not. Most people vote for losing candidates in British general elections. That's a striking fact, actually. And for many other people, a change of government from one party to another has not meant a change of circumstance. And you can see some of these reasons behind why people voted in the way that they did. Whatever else it might have been, the referendum was an opportunity to change something. It was a change-making opportunity, similar to Trump in the States, and it speaks to what Yossi was talking about. And I think it's for that reason that in the wake of the referendum, there was a recognition of many of those people who were left behind by globalization. The British economy has done fairly well in the last 20 years, but driven by London, driven by the South East, driven by the City of London and financial services and technology and all the rest. Disaggregated people who are living in deindustrialized towns have perhaps suffered. And it's little wonder then that in the wake of that, this idea of inclusive growth has emerged much, much more strongly. It was a feature of Chancellor Philip Hammond's budget speeches. It's found its way into regional industrial strategies. And they're strategies which are aimed at strengthening the economy, making business environment more dynamic, improving productivity, strengthening innovation, these kind of things. It's about broadening wider participation in economic growth right throughout society. Very, very different from redistribution, the sort of messages that you might start hearing during this campaign. I don't think there's been very much headway, but it has been on the agenda. The case that I would make, and the idea that I would leave you with, is that inclusive growth in itself is really insufficient. And for it to be meaningful in the kind of fractious times that Yossi's outlined, really requires a change in politics as much as a change in economics. It means that citizens not only have a bigger say, either vote here or vote there, but actually there's meaningful participation in the decision, and that's this idea of deliberative democracy. So I think this has changed things. I think returning to the old politics of pre-referendum is no longer an option. And even if we get to that stage where Boris Johnson is able to bring his Brexit bill back, I think the politics has changed. And so if we want to progress out of that populism into something much more healthy, I would argue that I think we need to combine the idea of inclusive growth with where the economy can make the best out of the human potential that's there, with much more, greater moves towards deliberation in democracy, where decisions are arrived at much more inclusively. But I'm not that confident that we're going to get to that place.